Hi there. I want to talk with you about a very important topic today where you might be undermining your own ability to be profitable in your business. So I want to dig into that a little bit. As a long-standing profit first professional, I was actually the very first profit first professional years ago. I've been supporting business owners in implementing profit first in their business for many years now. And I have seen some interesting dynamics unfold as a simple system like Profit First, which should set us up for success to be profitable, how we business owners can get in our own way and undermine our ability to be profitable. I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling. I'm the business psychologist. I'm the author of How to Hire the Best, as well as the 4-Week Vacation. And at Tap the Potential, we are all about supporting entrepreneurs like you in taking your life back from your business. And that means designing your business with the Tap the Potential solution so that it's sustainably profitable and gives you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. And today we are digging into how are you getting in your own way when it comes to being profitable. So I want to just comment that Profit First is a very basic system. And I've seen business owners overcomplicate it when they struggle to be profitable. So here's the basics of Profit First. You put accounts in place. When revenue comes in, you move allocations, you move percentages of the revenue into your accounts, and you have accounts that are designated for owner's pay and profit. When the cash flow is not there to support allocations to owner's pay and profit, there's a question that needs to be asked, and that's what is going on? How come I don't have the cash so that I have profit and owner's pay in place? And that is where everything gets really interesting because we have the opportunity to really think about what are we doing? What patterns do we have? What behavioral patterns and personality patterns do we have that are probably long-standing in our lives that are impacting our cash flow in our business and our ability to be profitable? So we're going to talk about gremlins today. And there's a quote I want to read to you. This is from Rick Carson, the author of Taming Your Gremlin. And by the way, if you have gremlins, I highly recommend the book, Taming Your Gremlins by Rick Carson. He says, "There is indeed a gremlin in your head, and he's out to make you miserable. Left to do his thing, he'll zap your health, foul up your relationships, ruin your disposition, dampen your creativity, hamper your productivity, drive you into low down funks, and wind you up into fits of anxiety." Anyone relating to that? Yeah. So I'm going to talk, there are all kinds of gremlins that come up that undermine our ability to be effective in our business and undermine our ability to be profitable. I picked the ones that I see coming up the most, and I'm going to hit on those here. This is probably a topic we could spend days on the podcast digging into and really looking at all the different variations of gremlins that are out there that undermine us business owners. I'm going to start with the biggest one, which is people pleasing. So one of the things that I think is important for you to be aware of is that if you have the tendency to be a people pleaser, you are so not alone in that. 68% of the population is a people type on the people map. And the people map is a 4-quadrant personality assessment that we use at Tap the Potential to help business owners and their teams understand their communication styles and their strengths. So 68% of the population is a people pleaser. And when you're a business owner and you have the tendency to please people, there are many ways that you may be undermining your ability to be profitable. And here's just a few of the things that I see. I see individuals with people pleasing, they tend to second guess themselves a lot. There's a struggle to make hard choices and stick to them. You may make a choice in one moment, but as soon as you're talking to someone else, you may sway, your choice or your opinion may change. So it's really hard for you to pick a solid course of action and stick with it. There's also a fear of disappointing others. And this bleeds out and impacts so many things in the business. One of the biggest areas that I see it impacting is your payroll and how you're building your team, because this kind of people pleasing will lead you into keeping inefficient team members on your payroll. It will keep you serving clients you shouldn't be serving, working with people who are outside of the sweet spot, and then trying to do more and more things to make them happy, which takes you, that's your $10,000 an hour time that you're spending on a PETA client and trying to keep them happy, which keeps you from being able to focus where you need to focus. And that client probably is one of those clients that's costing you to serve them. Another area where I see people pleasing really impacting profitability is keeping team members on the payroll because you feel some loyalty to them, or you don't want to hurt them, or you don't want to disappoint them. And so those individuals may be individuals that you've set expectations with. They're not meeting those expectations, and you're not holding them accountable, and you're allowing them to stay on the payroll. Well, if payroll is your biggest expense and you have team members who aren't meeting the expectations and you're not profitable, this is why you're not profitable. We've really got to work with you to start managing that payroll and looking at what are your patterns that are contributing to inflated payroll for you. And when I talk about hiring the best, A players are 900 to 1200% more productive than warm bodies on your team. Your warm bodies make mistakes. They cause rework. Usually it's your A players who have to come behind and fix the work that's been done. So there's all kinds of added hours and time, things become highly inefficient. We also need to remember, though, that 85% of the workforce is disengaged. 85%. And so when you have team members on your team who are warm bodies and they're disengaged, you're lucky. You're lucky to get 40% productivity out of them. 40% productivity translates to 2 days worth of work in a 5-day work week. So those warm bodies are very costly on your payroll. And a lot of times I'll see business owners keep these individuals on because it's hard to make those tough choices. It's hard to draw the line in the sand, or you may feel like, well, I don't know how to hire A players. And I will just say, if you don't know how to hire A players, we have a course at Have the Potential, How to Hire the Best, that supports you in learning how to hire A players. And so that excuse is gone. Once you know how to hire A players, the only reason that you would keep a warm body on your payroll is because you don't feel comfortable in letting them go. And that's a really important reality to face for yourself if you're in that place, that you have someone on your payroll that is not efficient for you. They're not able to bring the business where it needs to go and where you need them to go, and you continue to pay them. So what I want you to really connect with is, every time you are paying that person and a paycheck goes out, that's money that's being taken out of your owner's pay and out of your profit, particularly if you can't be profitable. And just really own that for yourself, because that creates a higher level of accountability for you when you're paying attention to that. Another area where people pleasing can really get in and undermine our profitability is not controlling costs on client projects and client work. A real easy area to see this in is in the construction industry. And if you're a builder or remodeler, and you're not capturing those change orders, and capturing the change orders and billing the change orders, and creating the expectations from the get-go with your client that there will be change orders most likely, and there is a process for creating change orders and billing them for the change orders. So when you're not doing that, it's really important for you to look at and get real about, well, how much are you giving away in your business? If you're an independent contractor and you're doing work outside the scope of the project because you don't want to upset your client or have a difficult conversation with your client, well, how much are you giving away? What is that adding up to over time? We business owners are notorious for saying, oh, it's no big deal. It's just a little bit here and a little bit there. but it's the cumulative impact of those kinds of choices over time that really undermine our profitability. So, what are you letting slide in your business right now? What are you tolerating? What are you putting up with? What are you letting slide? And how much is that costing you today? How much has it cost you last year? How much is that going to cost you in the next year if you don't address this and deal with it? And as soon as you look at that, I think you will be willing to deal with it because it can be a shocking amount. And when you realize, oh, this is why I haven't been able to make any allocations to my profit accounts, that's an eye opener. So Profit First is a great system. It's very simple to implement and follow. And our long-standing personality issues can totally undermine the system. So if Profit First isn't working for you, this is a key area to look. Don't go looking for more advice on Profit First or, there must be something I'm missing in my business. I think the first place to really look is at yourself. And what are you tolerating and what are you allowing to go on in your business that is undermining the profitability of the business? And then, on that note, I want to talk about another aspect of people pleasing behavior that can get in there. And I've seen this with clients. When you decide on one course of action and then you change your mind and you keep changing your mind because you're getting too much input from too many people. And I always think it's great to have input and have multiple perspectives. And when people are in our Better Business, Better Life program, that's what they're paying for. They're paying to have a coaching experience and where in coach when you're coaching, you are being asked powerful questions and you're getting clarity. We use coaching skills with our clients because we know how to quiet those gremlins during that coaching session and get you to connect with your inner voice, your inner wisdom. And so a lot of clarity will happen. And then what the value of being in a group with other business owners is those multiple perspectives are in the room right there. And so what I've seen happen is I've seen clients who are susceptible to people pleasing leave a coaching session with tremendous clarity and say, this is what I'm clear, this is what I need to do. And then 2 weeks later, come back and have a completely different course of action that they've taken. And it's because they've gone talking to more people and more people and more people and got pulled into people pleasing and got away from what the inner voice was saying is needed. And so when you're investing in a coaching program, I really encourage you to work with one coach, not multiple coaches in different programs. And I've seen that happen too, because we attract a lot of learners at Tap the Potential. And so when you're a learner, you're like, oh, I want to learn this and I want to learn that. And that person can teach me this. And so there's this bright, shiny object syndrome that starts to happen. And that really can undermine the effectiveness of the investment that you've made in the current coaching program for yourself. So be aware if you have that people pleasing tendency that you're kind of vulnerable to that. And so that's an opportunity for you really to kind of pull it back in and say, all right, this is where I'm focused right now. This is where I'm investing. I'm going to maximize what I can get out of this opportunity at this point in time. And I think it's so important to understand too about our gremlins. So our gremlins they are these self-defeating, long-standing personality patterns. They're the self-sabotaging behavior that we get into. And what's really interesting to me about gremlins is they come out in full force when we are on the cusp of change and a major transformation. And they undermine us because they want us to maintain status quo. And that's their whole goal, is to keep us stuck in where we are. And so gremlins develop over from our early experiences in life. And at some point, something happened where it was important to engage in people pleasing behavior that kept you safe if you're a people pleaser. And recognizing that at that point in time, that behavior kept you emotionally or physically safe. That's great to acknowledge that. That was many years ago in your life. You've done a lot of maturing since then. You no longer need that gremlin to keep you safe. And that gremlin comes out when you're on the cusp of transformation and change. And so what I fully trust after having coached now for almost 20 years and doing therapy with people for even longer than that, I fully trust when we see these gremlins coming out in full force and we want to stop doing something, or we want to go over here and we want to do something different instead of sticking with the coaching that we started with in our initial goals. I fully trust that means that you're on the break, you're on the cusp of transformation. And that's not the time to stop or switch or change course of action. That's the time where it's really important. Like, let's dig in, let's see this through, and let's see what comes from this, because there's something beautiful on the other side. And, there's another way that people pleasing can really undermine us in the business, and that's not taking the time to work on the business. So that's saying that I know what's going on right now in my business isn't working, but I don't have time to do anything about it because I'm so busy in client meetings or doing this for our patients and taking care of what our team needs. And I don't have time to work on the business. Well, what happens when you follow that pattern over many years? You're just going to have a business that's going to be an ongoing crisis for you. And this comes through. We see it a lot in business owners who will overschedule themselves to please clients and not be able to just take the time to do the work on the business. And I think it's important to have realistic expectations about what does it really take to make your business better. And when clients come in our Better Business, Better Life program, we tell them, you really need to anticipate about 6 to 10 hours a week of working on the business. And that might be some time that you're spending in the group. It might be some time that you're spending researching something. It might be time that you're spending talking to your team about doing something differently. That can take many different forms. But to really make the change that you need to make, if you're willing to invest 6 to 10 hours a week, imagine that over the course of the year, how the cumulative impact of that, particularly when you are working in one direction, you have your vision identified, we're supporting you, you're not getting pulled in multiple directions, but you're staying on one course of action in alignment with your vision, and we're working with you to address all these different pieces of the business. That's where change will really start to happen. So when we think about, if we're going to say, well, I don't have time to do that, what are you really saying? It's almost like you're really saying, I don't have time to make my life better. I don't have time to make my business better. I'm content to stay in this mess. And so when we start to just speak that out loud, it sounds totally unreasonable, right? Like, you don't want that. Sometimes we just have to hear ourselves talk these things through out loud to realize how crazy making these gremlins are when they get in our head. And so another form of this people pleasing creates a lot of codependency in our businesses. And so one of the gremlins that I talk about in my book, The 4-Week Vacation, is codependent Cole. And so you've got codependent Cole in your head if you're saying stuff like, I'm the only one who can do this. The buck stops with me. All major decisions must flow through me before getting implemented. Um, if those are things that you've said, you're creating a team and a business that is totally reliant on you. And so if you want to break that codependency, there's powerful questions you can ask yourself, like, who else could do this? And then remind yourself of the value of your time when you're focusing on working on your business from your strengths, from your zone of genius, rather than trying to juggle all those mundane tasks. So it's the $10,000 an hour time versus the $10 an hour tasks that is so valuable. And by the way, if that's a struggle for you to remember that, be sure to download my chart and my teaching on how to make your time worth $10,000 an hour. You can get that at tapthepotential.com/10K. if you have this codependency going on in your business and everything runs through you, a simple place to start is identifying one other team member that you want to involve in discussions about challenging issues. And this, it starts to invite collaborative decision making in the business, and it creates opportunities for you to discuss with your team member how you make decisions. And so that will allow them to learn the process for making decisions. And it's starting to get them on that trajectory where they could be a key team member that you could entrust with things when you have to be away from the business. And another tip around this is whenever you're training anything in the business, try to train more than one person, because then there's backup that's getting created. Even if it's not going to be that person's sole responsibility, that second person that you're training, at least they're learning how they could back up and support the person who has that sole responsibility. Um, and if you have team members who doubt themselves or who second guess themselves and hesitate to jump in and solve problems, first off, acknowledge that some of that probably started with you because you've told them they have to run everything by you first, or they've made a decision on their own and you didn't like their decision and then you made them feel bad about it. So that's going to make them hesitant to make more decisions on their own in the future, which just creates a culture of codependency versus a culture of coaching. And so one of the things that you can say to your team members is, and Chip and Dan Heath talk about this in their book, The Power of Moments, and it's such a powerful statement to another individual. I have high expectations for you, and I know you can meet them. So try this new challenge, and if you fail, I'll help you recover. Right? Just say that. And that can give somebody else the confidence that, number one, you know you've asked them to go do it and figure it out on their own, and you're not going to chastise them if they mess something up. Instead, you're going to be there side by side with them, helping them figure out how to recover from it. That's how to start breaking this cycle of codependency that you might have been creating unintentionally in your business. And so, the other thing about these gremlins is, now that I'm calling them out for you and you're seeing yourself in them, it's kind of like, oh, shoot, I know this now about myself. This gremlin can't just go below the surface and hide anymore. Another gremlin that comes up a lot, and I call him Skeptical Skip. Skeptical Skip doesn't trust because Skeptical Skip has been burned. And this is an area a lot of times when we're working with business owners to get them ready for their 4-week vacations, and we're kind of down to the wire of what are the last things that have to come off your plate for you to be fully unplugged for 4 weeks. Oftentimes it's payroll and allocations to the profit first accounts, because all of that's around money and bookkeeping. And those are some of the very areas that we are least likely to let go of. We're very skeptical because you have to trust somebody. And so, if you've ever been burned by a team member financially, where someone has taken money from you or they've made poor decisions that led you to lose money, it's normal that you would be skeptical and you would not want to trust. So I want to give you just some basic bookkeeping tips about how to start delegating bookkeeping. And one is, never put one person in charge of all the bookkeeping, because that creates the opportunity for that person to commit fraud. And so to protect against that, you want to split responsibilities so that one person can't make alterations or do something out of the ordinary without another person noticing. So for example, you might have team member A write checks and team member B signs the checks. Or when it comes to receiving and depositing funds, team member A does that, team member B keeps record of it. Purchasing functions are carried out by team member A, payable functions carried out by team member B. So there's multiple people involved. And the other thing is, when you keep your accounting up to date, you review your balance sheet, your profit and loss, and your expenses every month, at least on a minimum. And you talk about that with your team. They know you're paying attention. If you just delegate by tossing and you say, oh, someone else does our reconciliations of our accounts and posts the expenses, I don't need to pay attention to that, you're creating a huge blind spot in the business, and you are creating that opportunity for people to take advantage of you. If your team members know you're paying attention to these transactions in the business, it's much less tempting for them to engage in theft or deceptive behavior. So, this overall culture of accountability and transparency starts to support you in building more trust. But really, the key thing when it comes to building trust is asking yourself, if I have team members on board that I don't trust, why am I hiring people I don't trust? Is it because they've disappointed you? They've shown you that they're not trustworthy, that they're not going to meet expectations, and they're going to continue to not meet expectations? If that's the case, that's not them. That's you for allowing them to continue to be on your payroll. You're continuing, but every time you pay them and they're not meeting expectations, you are saying, this is okay for you not to meet expectations. So, if that's going on for you, really ask yourself, if you're keeping them around because you don't know how to hire someone else, well, maybe you need to learn how to hire A players and, take the How to Hire the Best course. If you are keeping them around because you don't know how to fire them, ask for support in learning how to have that uncomfortable conversation and how to go through that process. Um, and then ask yourself, what do I need to put in place so that I'm hiring team members I can trust? And what accountability needs to be there so that I can trust that when I ask for something to be done, it will be done and carried out, and the expectations get met. So I'm really curious, as we've been going through this conversation here on the podcast, what people-pleasing behaviors are you noticing that undermine your profitability? What gremlins are getting in the way? And what support and accountability are you needing to make choices daily that support your profitability? So if you're noticing you have some patterns here in your personality, in how you do things that are hard to change, let us support you. Book a call with us at Tap the Potential and talk to us about our Better Business, Better Life program. This is an area where we really excel, and that's not just in helping you get profit first in place in your business, but that's the foundation of the Tap the Potential solution. And if you're struggling to be profitable, chances are there's some issues in there. There's some gremlins that keep coming up and undermining that. So you have the opportunity. We'd love to support you in addressing those gremlins so that you can go forward and build your business to be sustainably profitable. And the beauty of the entire Tap the Potential solution is, once you have your profit first in place, all the steps that follow that help you become more and more efficient and more profitable while you're taking your life back from your business. So I just want to close with some thoughts for you about what happens if you choose to let your ongoing patterns continue to undermine you. So if you choose not to set your business up to grow profitably and put it in a place where it can run without you, here's what's likely to happen down the road. You're creating a financial crisis that's going to happen at some point in your business and your life. You're going to continue to miss out on what matters most. You're going to deprive your family and friends of the opportunity to experience you fully present with them. You're going to miss out on the big and small events in your family members' lives. You're going to be in the room with them, and your mind is going to be checked out through 80 to 90% of what goes on in the lives of the people that you care about most, because your business and all the challenges in your business are going to keep preoccupying you. You're allowing codependency to go on in the business. You're going to allow yourself to keep doing things that are not your gift. You're preventing your team members from stepping into their full potential. You're saying, you know what? I'm okay. I'm going to allow dysfunction to continue. I'm going to continue operating out of a sense of urgency. And ultimately, what's going to happen is you're going to fail to tap the full potential in your business. So I really want to invite you, let's make this a conversation. I know as we listen to podcast episodes, I hear from you all the time that you're having ahas and insights and you find the content valuable. It would be very helpful for me to be able to support you more and more effectively here on the Profit by Design podcast if we turn this into a conversation. And so, what we are doing at Tap the Potential is in our Mighty Networks community, we're sharing the podcast episodes and then asking you questions. And, where are you connecting? What resonates for you? What questions do you have? And then I'm taking those questions, and in our Mighty Networks community, I will be going live once a week with my responses and answers to your questions that come up as you listen to these podcast episodes. So this is our way at Tap the Potential, where we really want to add value to you from our gifts. And that's my gift to you. So if you're not in our Mighty Networks community, what's stopping you? Go head on over there, go to tapthepotential.com/group and join our community. We have some really exciting things that we are working on in the upcoming quarter in our Mighty Networks community, where just by being a part of that community, you're going to benefit from that. So there's a lot there, and I would love to see you in there and be interacting with you. I also want to share with you that a really powerful way to close your thoughts on your gremlins and really kind of bring you to a different spot with it is to identify one or two people in your personal life who have been impacted by the choices that you've made in your business that are not supporting profitability. So people in your life, maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a child, who have been negatively impacted by you being distracted or you not being able to bring enough money into the household for the family to do things that are important to family members. And just acknowledge to them, you know what? I recognize that I have made some choices that have not set us up for success and be able to do things that are important to you. And from this point forward, I'm committed to making choices that allow the business to be profitable, that allow me to free up my time so that I can be here with you and be more focused and present with you. That kind of conversation heightens your accountability to noticing your patterns. And it's really an opportunity for you every single day. If you've noticed a gremlin, as I've gone through this episode, that comes up that undermines your profitability on an ongoing basis, I really encourage you, ask yourself every single day, what will I do differently today? What am I willing to do so that I make choices that allow this business to be profitable? That will make a serious impact on your ability to hit those target allocation percentages in Profit First and really have more money in your bank account that allows you to do the things for your family and spend your time in the ways that are most meaningful for you. So I hope this has been helpful. And I really do. I want to hear your feedback on this topic in our Mighty Networks group. Head on over to tapthepotential.com/group and share with me over there. Bye for now.